Whoa.
What's the problem?
This isn't matter? This is not a Jet show.
So what?
So how about this?
Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Oh, come on. I don't want to hear this.
Why not? Super Bowl champions.
Doesn't matter. I just don't want to hear it.
What do you want to hear?
How about some Mets?
Hey, if I can find one good thing that happened to the Mets, here we go.
Home run. Mike Piazza and the Mets lead 3-2.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be, I'm sorry. We all can't be like the Yankees.
Oh, speaking of.
This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye, home run. Don Mattingly.
No. God, I can't believe I just said that. All right, well, listen. How about a little Nets?
If I have to.
Kid, the jumper to win it. He got it.
I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. It's been a second. I can't take it. How about some Knicks?
Oh, yeah. Big spenders. Can't win a playoff.
Fair enough.
Houston pops out up top, down the lane, running jumper off the front rim, and in.
I guess we should talk a little hockey, no?
People even watch hockey anymore?
They watch the Rangers.
Well, if you have the Rangers, you gotta have some violence.
Yeah, no, they didn't have YouTube in the 80s.
All right, let's get the show started.
Here we are, polar opposites. Hello and welcome to Polar Opposites Sports Show. We are currently live on YouTube and on Spreaker. I'm Matt Stevens. Alongside me, as always,
is Craig Moffitt.
Craig.
Matty, how you feeling, Hamilton?
Oh, man. Happy opening day. Baseball's back. Better and quicker than ever. Real quick, before we get to that, Twitter at PolarOppo, Instagram at PolarOppoPod. Same for YouTube at PolarOppoPod. You can find our podcast wherever you get your podcast. iTunes, TuneIn, iHeart, Spotify, Billify, Clampify, and all the other fies out there. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast. Check us out, Polar Opposites. So there you go, Craig. Baseball's back.
I am convinced that if baseball was only played one day on opening day, one game, that's it, the Mets would be like World Series champions for like years and years. They've won like 40 of their last, I think it was like 53 opening day games or something like that. And it's just like, then that's all you look forward to. You're like, oh, pretty much it's like the other game.
No. Stop that, Craig. No, Met fans. You don't get to play that. You don't get to play this card anymore, Met fans. You don't get to play the only thing we're good at is opening day.
Oh, no, I'm not saying,
we're the guys who always lose.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if the Mets are just like this really ridiculously good opening day team, and then after that, it's just like all these weird things happen, but they're still a solid team. It's just like all these fun, like all these just weird things happen to them all the time.
I do this with Met fans all the time. I will not allow Met fans to live in the same old Mets realm anymore. I will not allow.
No.
You don't get to live in that world anymore because you got Mr. Money Thief, Mr. Ponzi Scheme running you. No, I'm kidding. Stevie Cohen in there. All right. Anyway, opening day happened.
Funny thing about opening day, real quick. Apparently, Met fans had an issue with Cohen sitting with the 7 line in Miami, during the game. And I'm like, I don't understand why you would have a problem with that. Why are people making such a big deal about that? I mean, he's the owner of the team. It's like, who cares?
Jealousy is the only reason you have a problem with that, Craig. Right? The only reason you have a problem with that is because you were pissed off that you weren't one of the people there talking with Stevie.
I know.
That's the only reason. Because otherwise, it's good. Otherwise, as a fan, you would think that that's awesome. Because there's a possibility at some point that Stevie might come and sit with you.
Yeah. Like, who's to say that one day I'll be at a Met game in section 425 and the guy just goes, oh, is this seat taken? And I could be sitting next to Steve Cohen, and most likely I would have no idea because I would just be totally oblivious. Yeah, have a seat, but I don't know who the hell you are.
And then he tries to sell, if you invest with me, you'll get 10% every year back on your returns, no matter what. It'll be like a wonderful meeting.
Actually, did you see the latest thing with the Mets? That's actually kind of funny, but it's like almost like it's like a weird funny. So people are complaining that they're buying 20 game ticket packages for Citi Field.
Okay.
But when they do a deeper count, it's only 16 games. That apparently and the Mets, and so like people are like, oh, this is bullshit. Why am I, because most people when they do that, they don't really count the games, right? More times than not, they don't really.
So you have to choose the games. Don't you get
No,
physical?
a lot of times you don't get to choose. I don't know if you do that. I'm not sure if the Mets offer that where you can custom do like the stuff. But what they do is they try to mix in the games that aren't selling well, like Monday night games, Tuesday night games, that type of stuff, with
Against
like
the
a
Pirates.
weekend. Yeah, like games that they know they're not going to sell tickets, that you're going to buy tickets for $5 on like StubHub or any like ticket agency.
So there,
So a few of the fans, so apparently like a few Met fans bitched and complained to the organization saying, "Hey, you guys told me it was a 20-game package, but it's only like 18 games. So there's 2 games missing from the package." And according to the Mets, and this is where it just gets really like, you just kind of go like this, right? The Mets are telling people that, well, originally it was a 20 game, but then a few of the games that they offered sold out. So they're giving people a break on it because it's not 20 games, but it's like a weird like type of explanation. Like it's almost like something you would read from a script.
so like they basically said we're gonna give everybody this Tuesday game against the Cincinnati Reds, and then randomly that game sold out, and they're like, "Sorry, there's no other games to give you. It's only 18 games now."
They don't know how to pivot to another game unless. But it just kind of made me laugh because it was like you ever get a call from like a telemarketer and they're reading from a script, and the first thing they tell you is, well, it was like when I used to get Verizon Fios, and we used to have a technician come to the house, and I told the guy, listen, it's not working. There's something really weird. The first thing every technician always said to me when they came to my house was, well, it looks like you have a weak signal. Like they would always automatically pivot to weak signal. I'm like, it's fucking internet. Like, what are you talking about? The whole neighborhood is fucking fine except for my apartment. Like, what is that? What are you talking about?
That means it's the Fios, Jack.
Yeah. So it's like, you got to read the script and you got to deal, it's pretty funny, but it's like, of course, it's like the Mets are doing a bait and switch, like the 20, and then you put like a crayon that says 18 game, like, take it back.
The both teams, of course, won on opening day. The Mets took 3 out of 4. I think they won today. They were winning in the top of the 9, so I just assumed they were winning 5-1. So I assume they won. If it's not already over, it will be soon. So they took 3 out of 4 against the Marlins. Yankees took 2 out of 3, losing yesterday. Both guys who had
did they win today?
Yeah, it's
they win. Okay,
6-0. Yeah, something like that.
Oh, okay.
And both guys who debuted today for the Mets and the Yankees. The Japanese pitcher, Brito. Johnny Brito.
Okay.
AAA guy.
Wait, so the San Francisco Giants got shut out 2 out of 3 games?
Yeah.
Oh, God, they're so bad.
And they beat Clark Schmidt the other game.
Yeah, and they got lucky, too, because it looked like his foot was off the bag at second base, like when Stanton's double play.
Yeah.
It looked like his foot just came off the bag right as Stanton slid in. Like it was very close, like really, really close.
And the home plate umpire was ass. But, I mean, what else do we expect from home plate umpires?
The umpire was already off to a bad start.
Like
Cole the other day was pissed at Laz Diaz because
Diaz is terrible. I mean, come
on. Like, that pitch was right down the middle. It was like, I said it to my wife's cousin. I texted him, I was like, remember that scene? Remember, like, of course, the Naked Gun when he's the umpire? And, like, in the 7th inning when he's trying to stall to avoid the guy, Reggie Jackson trying to kill the queen, he keeps calling pitches down the middle. He's like, keeps calling them balls.
Right.
And the guy's, like, flipping out. He's, like, literally ready to, like, kill the guy. It's like, that's exactly what it looked like.
It's brutal. But, and so, like, MLB is now, we'll get to all the rule changes because they have made a huge difference, at least over the first weekend. There was a game yesterday that I think it was 2 hours and 4 minutes or something like that. It was a 2-0 game. But one of the things they're talking about when we talk about the umpires is they're talking about bringing in the electronic strike zone, but they've decided that they're probably not going to do that right away. What they're going to do first is go to a challenge system. And like, they better get unlimited challenges because there was at least 15 pitches I could have challenged yesterday, and I probably would have won every single one of them. Like, it's ludicrous. You have guys getting called third strikes on pitches that are like a half a foot outside.
Some of them
can't be allowed to continue.
Yeah, some of the pitches. I was watching highlights of a game. I couldn't remember which one it was. I think it was a Yankee game.
Yeah.
And I think Donaldson was a guy. Donaldson, the pitch was outside. Like,
yes.
You could tell it was really bad. And he got called for a third strike. And then at first I was like, okay, because like when you're first watching it, before they get to the replay, you're like, okay, maybe it looked like it was in there. And then when they show it like that aerial shot, like right over the catcher's head with the strike zone, it's outside. Like it's really bad.
And like this is something I'm going to say that's going to shock people, but the batters know the strike zone better than the umps. They know what's balls and they know, and they may complain sometimes, but they know deep down inside that it was a strike or a ball. Like they know this crap. So when they're complaining for a reason.
Yeah.
So they gotta fix it. Look, they fixed the other stuff so far. The no shift has worked. Like the offense is crazy. Did you see any of those Red Sox Baltimore scores? 10-5, 9-8, 9-5. Like it's crazy how many runs are being scored right now.
Because Baltimore would have won that second game if that guy didn't drop the fly ball.
What's going on? Yo, like last year, remember? Do you remember last year the Red Sox went through this like rut where they just couldn't catch a pop-up or a fly ball?
Yeah. It was like, actually I saw that yesterday with the Tigers. It was like the shades of Major League. When like an opening day when they're all converging and like, and then they just let it drop because nobody communicated. Like it was pretty bad. And then like the Red Sox game yesterday, the guy drops a fly ball that would have ended the game.
Yeah.
And then Adam Duvall comes up, it's a 2-run homer and wins the game for the Red Sox. It was crazy.
It was crazy, but the games have been quick. They've been crisp. They've been fun to watch. There's been a lot of action. There's been a lot more stolen bases, like a lot more running, a lot more just fun stuff. And so far, no real crazy injuries. So we're rocking and rolling so far.
Yeah, I mean, from a New York perspective, the Yankees have looked. I think the Yankees have looked really good to start on offense. Almost won yesterday because Giants closer couldn't find a strike zone at all.
Oh, yeah,
he was all over the place, and he got bailed out by Stanton's double play. Judge is already on a tear already. I mean, homered in his first at bat of opening day of the season.
He homered
today. Had a few hits, and had a few hits yesterday. Yep. We seem to find that sweet spot between short and third. He had 3 singles in that exact same spot.
No shift, baby.
Yeah, like it was exactly the same spot.
It's a wonderful thing.
But the Yankees look good. Cole was very good yet on opening day.
They real quick. They had Kiner Falefa playing center field today because they had this DH. Stanton played right field the first 2 days, and then they had Kiner Falefa playing center field so Judge could play right field today.
Yeah, Kiner Falefa seems like a guy without a position now that Volpe's on the roster.
Well, he was a kind of a jack of all trades when he played for Texas. He's the emergency catcher. I think he's played second, he's played third, he's played short. I think he's also played some outfield. So he has been like a super utility guy. And if he can fill that role, then I can just leave Oswaldo Cabrera in left field.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that. You know what I mean? And then so he can get better and better over there because you do need speed in that particular left field at Yankee Stadium. So look, good starts for both teams.
I think it pitched really well today. He had a shaky first inning, but other than that, he settled down and just kind of mowed him down.
The thing about the Met offense that you can see is how important Starling Marte is.
Yes,
in that offense, just all around, like his speed on the bases, turning singles into doubles, stolen bases, just contact. Like he's so important to that offense that. Like you could talk about Lindor and you could talk about Alonso and like all those guys, McNeil and all those guys. Don't get me wrong. They're all really good hitters and they're all very important, but it's something about what Marte does. I don't really know if I can quantify it in any particular way, but you know what I'm talking about? Like when he's in the lineup, it just feels different. It just feels like it's more threatening.
When they didn't have him towards the end of last season, I definitely think it mattered. He definitely played a big role in their collapse. Let's call it what it was.
Yeah, sure.
Today's lineup was kind of funny because I thought this was more of like a mail-it-in lineup because they had Tommy Pham leading off,
right?
Castro playing left field, Canna as the DH. I thought it was really weird that Nimmo got a day off already after 3 games. And then I thought maybe he had a nagging injury. Maybe he just needed – I know he was a little hurt during –
Yeah, didn't he have like a groin or a hamstring or something during spring? It was something like it was very slight.
No, he hurt his ankle sliding into second base. Like it looked like his cleat kind of just caught itself in the dirt. And because you saw how awkwardly, like when you watch the video, it looks like he was debating between sliding and not. And then like his knee just like Luckily, it was just his ankle, and it turned out to be okay. So maybe I figured Buck gave him a day off today. Maybe used him for a pinch hitter if he needed him. But it was just like when I saw the lineup, I'm like, Jesus, I'm like Tommy Pham's in center field already after 3 games. And he wound up having a huge day today. He had like 3 hits and he had like 4 runs scored. Like he had a freaking monster day.
Real quick, because we don't need to talk too much about this. It's game 3 and 4 for these teams out of 162, so it's going to be a long season. But I do have to ask you, because I've asked this of every Met fan that I know. Did you enjoy Jacob deGrom's first start for the Texas Rangers?
See, I'm a big deGrom fan. So I was like, I'm trying to choose my words wisely.
Why, man? He's not on the team anymore.
I'm not going to rip deGrom. I'm really not going to rip deGrom. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, I'm so happy. I'm so happy he's not here anymore, because honestly, with freaking Verlander hurt, this is the time where I would want deGrom.
Sure.
I chalked it up as to one bad outing right now. You know, I'm not one of those guys that kind of looks really too deep into it. But
not the first start.
No, not a first start. You know, he still struck out 7 guys.
Right.
You know, that's the crazy part about it. It's like, I mean, I know he gave up a lot of runs, but the guy still struck out 7 guys in like 3 innings. You know, so I can't really get too upset. Like, I'm not going to be like too worked up about it. I think he'll be fine. I just don't know if Texas Rangers are that good of a team.
No.
That's it. I mean, their offense has been killing the Phillies the last 2 games against Nola and Wheeler. But is it sustainable, I guess, is my ultimate question. And
but the other thing I would say is, and I think you'll agree with this too, is that those guys coming back, and I know it's only an extra month, but it's a lot of innings, and those innings are hard in the playoffs. So when you make a deep run and you don't win, it's a little harder to come back next year ready to go right from the jump. You know what I mean? Like it took you a little longer to get going, that sort of thing. So the Phillies might start out a little slow here, but they have enough to come back in the end, hopefully.
Their bullpen to me is still a bit shaky.
I
don't love their bullpen at all. I know they got the guy from Detroit that was like one of the big acquisitions, but their bullpen has always seemed to be their Achilles heel. Yeah. It's never really been their starting rotation, because, you know, you have Wheeler, you have Nola, you have this new kid, Andrew Painter, who's supposed to be a really good prospect, but I think he's actually injured right now. Suarez has actually been a pretty decent back end of the rotation guy for them, but it's always been their bullpen to me that's been very, very shaky. It doesn't matter how many years they've, you know, been a good team. It's just their bullpen always scares. It should always scare the shit out of any Philly fan.
Indeed it should. So there you go. Good starts for both teams. Not much you can ask for it. Everyone's healthy, which is good. Guys are hitting, which is good. No crazy, like I don't think anybody for the Yankees or the Mets is like, for like 15 to start, right? Like I think everybody's got at least a hitter on base. Even Volpe got a hit. So
yeah, Lindor's had a couple of hits, so I'm sure it's something for WFAN to bitch and complain about on Monday, because it's like 2 for his first 10 or something like that. You know, I mean, like I just never understand the overreaction. Like I really just don't understand the overreaction.
You know, they always choose a guy and then they rip on that guy no matter what. It's how they do it.
It's like I always said about a guy like Evan Roberts. It's like me and like my wife's cousin always have a joke where it's like, if it's Game 7 of the World Series and the Mets win the World Series, Evan Roberts will find something wrong with the Mets in Game 7 of the World Series. Never mind the fact they won a championship.
Right.
What kind of thing? That's just how they roll on that network.
I haven't listened to WFAN.
You ain't missing much. Trust me.
No, I haven't listened since the day that they decided to hire Craig Carton back.
Yeah, and you know what's kind of funny about that show? For some reason, the other day I was trying to listen to it the other day, and you ever like? It's kind of funny because they start on a path, and then literally they drive off a cliff.
Mm-hmm. But
they start talking about something like of what to do. Let's say the Mets. So we'll just use the Mets because Evan Roberts is a big Mets guy, and all of a sudden the car just makes this like sharp turn, and they go off on some tangent about what Evan Roberts is doing, or they talk about Craig Carton just babbling on about some nonsense. Like it really does go off the track that quickly on that show. And then the worst part is if you listen to Tiki and Tierney, all they do, Brandon Tierney's the worst, by the way, because all he does is he just pulls these things out of his ass that just don't make any sense.
His voice also bugs the shit out of me.
But he was like, when the Yankees were trying to trade Josh Donaldson, and they knew they couldn't because of his contract. His contract was a big, big deal. You know, what is he making, like $25 million this year or something like that?
Something like that.
Brandon Tierney is like, because he's just such a Yankee fan, and he thinks like the Yankee fans that call the network, that call the station. So he's trying to convince everybody that the Mets should trade for Josh Donaldson after the Correa thing fell apart. And I'm like, why in God's name would the Mets trade for Josh Donaldson? Like, he's like, but he tries to like sell you on just bullshit. It's just complete bullshit. And it's just like, and I'm listening to this and I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. What the hell are you talking about? Like, you're just trying to get Josh Donaldson off your team because you don't want him. You don't want him.
Well, I stopped because I got tired of retreads. Like, hire somebody new. There are other people out there that do this for a living. You know what I mean? You don't have to just keep bringing back the same people over and over and over again. I mean, the man was in prison, and it wasn't like he was in prison for something that didn't have to do with his job. He was in prison for defrauding listeners. He defrauded fucking listeners, man. Like this, like did drugs and like got caught stealing, like to get drugs. Like then I'd be willing to give him a second chance. I'm not saying he should have a job, but he shouldn't get put on afternoon drive when he got out of prison just because of COVID. It wasn't like he got out for fucking good behavior. He got out because of COVID. I hate him so much. He's so oh, I don't get it. I don't get it.
When I worked there, you know who was really good that deserved a shot on WFAN?
Besides us?
Yeah, besides us. Okay. Do you remember a guy named Adam the Bull?
Oh,
sure. He used to do like more overnight when he was on WFAN or whatever. You know why that guy was awesome? Because he loved to he didn't go into a whole spiel about what was going on in the world of sports. He just went like this. All right, let's get to the phones. Yeah. And he would just like argue with people for like 2 hours. And it was so entertaining. That's entertaining to me.
Yeah. Let's argue. Let's take stupid phone calls.
That guy was awesome. Like he gave it to the callers, and then he would just go, he would be ready with all of his points. Like he just went boom, boom, boom. All right, next caller. Like he just didn't go into this whole like 20-minute montage or opening about whatever was going on. He just wanted to talk to the people, and he would just go and just argue with them left and right, or like, you know, he would agree or disagree. It didn't matter, but it was such an entertaining, like that's the type of guy. And he has a New York type of accent. I think it would work perfectly.
You're listening to Polar Opposites. We are currently live on iTunes. We're currently live on YouTube and on Spreaker. You can download us past episodes on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out, Polar Opposites. We do sports and whatnot, mostly New York sports, but we do dabble in other sports, as we're going to do right now. We're going to talk a little NFL because this, I thought the Aaron Rodgers thing would never go away. It's gone silent, even though both teams say that it's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. Packers like, we don't need a first round pick, but then we hear that they want a first round pick or they want players in the package, but they don't know which players and yada, yada, yada.
Lamar Jackson thing is getting progressively worse.
And the Lamar Jackson thing is getting worse. And it's getting worse because
we just don't know what to believe.
Well,
that's part of it, because
that's a big part. But the biggest part to me is that this is, and listen, I don't begrudge a dude making his own decisions for his own life, right? Like if you make a decision to be your own agent, like that's cool. And I'm not saying he's like, Lamar Jackson isn't in there negotiating contract language. Like he has lawyers working for him. He has a team of management, but this is a time when an agent would really help him, right? Yeah. Like draft a narrative around what he's trying to do, because he doesn't talk to anybody. And I'm not saying he has to, right? But this is usually when you have your agent be your intermediary for the public and say, Lamar did this, he didn't do this. Lamar wants this, he doesn't want this. What you're hearing over here is bullshit. What you're hearing over here is right. And so what we're getting is basically the Baltimore Ravens are running the narrative here when it usually would be the player, because they would have the agent talking for them.
So I have a bunch of bullet points. About how this is all broken down. And the thing is, what Lamar Jackson is doing now is he's kind of making it more public. Right. I don't know if it's I won't say it's a bad strategy. Because I think the thing is, when he's acting as his own agent, it's like the equivalent of somebody defending themselves in a trial. You kind of have to know when to hit them with the truth, but it's a he said, so we don't really know what to believe right now.
Right.
We know what the Ravens are, and I think the Ravens get a bit of a pass because they're a well-run organization for the most part. They've won Super Bowls. They're consistently good every year. They're very competitive every year. It's not like they're just a crappy franchise or anything like that. They are a well-run franchise. The problem I'm having is that for all the talk about how great of a general manager Eric DaCosta is, right now, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. And this is a 26-year-old quarterback.
Huh?
He's a franchise quarterback. You can't escape that. The thing about Lamar Jackson that's scaring the shit out of people is the style of play that he is, which is basically running the ball, although that's more the Ravens' fault than I think Lamar Jackson's fault. I think the Ravens are the ones that are very big into the ground and pound, which we talked about last week.
Right. But Craig, real quick, and I'll let you finish the point, but Tyrann Mathieu, and I hadn't even thought of this, but he's totally right. Tyrann Mathieu said the last 2 years, both his injuries came in the pocket.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
And the thing is, if you think about Lamar Jackson, one of his greatest strengths is his athletic ability, obviously, but one of his greatest strengths is something that Russell Wilson used to have, which is never getting hit really hard, right? Like Lamar Jackson gets hit, but for the amount of running he doesn't really take a lot of crazy shots in the open field because he's just too elusive. He's just too good an athlete. So he doesn't take a lot of shots. So in the last 2 years, his injuries have come in the pocket. So there you go. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. So the offense is predicated around Lamar Jackson's legs as well as the running game that they currently put in the backfield. They're not asking him to throw the ball very much, which is also why they haven't really given him a lot of receivers to work with either. They've drafted a couple of guys. They've really kind of built the passing game around Mark Andrews, their tight end. The only receiver they've added so far this offseason is Nelson Aguilar, which says all you need to know about how they really feel about this situation to an extent.
Don't throw into stone hands.
But it gets even worse. So earlier this week, Lamar Jackson posted, I think it was on Instagram, that he actually, or Twitter, that he requested a trade from the Ravens back on March 2nd.
Right.
Because it was pretty clear to him that he wasn't going to get what he wanted. And basically what he's trying to tell everybody else now, which is another part of this, is recent reports are saying that he's not looking for a fully guaranteed contract,
right?
But he wants more guaranteed money than Deshaun Watson.
Well, he said the whole contract doesn't have to be guaranteed. He just needs as much as Deshaun Watson is making has to be guaranteed.
Yeah, he just wants more guaranteed money than what Deshaun Watson is getting.
Right.
Okay. So that's another wrinkle to the whole thing. So it went from wanting a fully guaranteed contract, matching what guys like Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, and Deshaun Watson got. Now he's saying he doesn't want a fully guaranteed. He's not saying he has to have a fully guaranteed contract, but the guaranteed money has to be more than what Deshaun Watson is making. Here's another wrinkle that came out earlier this week. And this is where this is getting messy.
Okay.
Because you just don't know what the Ravens' intent is here and what Lamar Jackson's intent is in trying to get a deal.
Right.
The Ravens reportedly tried to sign Baker Mayfield in the offseason. But Mayfield signed with the Buccaneers basically because he felt it was his best chance to start.
He's probably right.
As a quarterback. Because he could sign with the Ravens, and the Ravens signed Lamar Jackson, and then Baker Mayfield is a backup.
Right.
Not a bad backup, but he's still going to – but if a guy wants to be a starter, he's going to he might stay away from a situation like Baltimore because Baltimore could pivot and say, okay, we're going to bring Lamar back, and he's going to be our guy,
right, and
you're back to being a backup role. So there was that wrinkle. Then it came out also from ESPN, Dan Graziano reporting that no NFL team is aggressively pursuing Lamar Jackson or preparing an offer sheet for him. So now one team in the NFL is interested in Lamar Jackson, in signing Lamar Jackson long term. Again, I don't know what reports are reports, rumors are rumors.
Sure.
Matt and I could start rumors all day about what goes on in the NFL. But it's tough to really it's tough to differentiate who's full of shit and who's telling the truth. And
well, I think it's probably somewhere in the middle, because if you look at it logically, right, which I mean, it's human beings, so you can't always look at things logically. But if you look at the NFL logically right now, out of the 32 teams, how many teams are in a position to where they need the quarterback to put them over the top? There's
Right
not
now,
many.
honest to God, just one. I don't even know if it's the Dolphins anymore. I know we talked about the Dolphins last week. I'm not entirely sure it's the Dolphins as much because I really do think they like Tua.
No. But I'm talking about health. Like assuming Tua is healthy, the Dolphins, you eliminate the Dolphins from that conversation. It's the Jets. Yeah. The Jets are the only one, and they already have their guy in Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. The only other team I'm going to throw in there, just because I'm still not sure what they have.
Okay.
And I know you're going to find it might be a little weird. I know people are going to say the Falcons, but I'm actually going to say the 49ers. And the reason why I'm going to say the 49ers is while I think that Brock Purdy was really, really good this last year.
Right.
I don't think he's going to start the season from what I read.
No, he's not.
He has the torn UCL.
Right.
And at the same time, part of me also thinks that teams now have video on him where they might plan for him better.
But here's the problem. They traded so much to get I'm forgetting the dude's name. Trey Lance. They can't now trade 2 first-round picks to get another quarterback who they got to pay as well.
And actually, I don't think they have 2 first-round. I don't think they have a first-round pick this year anyway.
I mean, it wouldn't be the next 2 years, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I think there are teams that might try to want to do it, but I don't think they can actually do it, right? Because you also have to be able to fit them under the cap once you trade for them. And I'm not sure they could do that as well because they're already paying Trey Lance on the rookie deal, which is better than what they'd be paying Lamar. But still, they traded all those picks for Trey Lance. And then, and I know Garoppolo's gone, but you can deal with that. The only other team I would throw in besides the Jets, there's only one other team I would actually throw in besides the Jets, because I think logically thinking, I think most teams have the quarterback where it's not necessarily like Lamar is not such a huge upgrade over what you have, right? Yeah. I think the team is the Commanders because the Commanders have a good defense and they have really good offensive weapons and an offensive line. They just have nobody to play quarterback.
Yeah, it's funny, Matt. I agree with you there because that was one of the first teams I thought about, the Commanders. And then I know the Commanders brought in Jacoby Brissett, and fine, whatever. Like, he's a marginally decent quarterback, but let's call it what it is. He's not going to lead you very far.
No, but actually the funny thing is Jacoby Brissett is probably the perfect backup to Lamar because you could keep running the same offense.
Exactly.
You know, change it wholesale.
Yes, I completely agree with you. That was definitely one of the first teams that came to mind, and as well as the Falcons were one. The Niners came to my head only because of just the uncertainty around Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. But then, as you said, you're talking about trading 2 first-round picks to get Lamar, and that the Niners can't do that. I don't think the Niners have a first-round pick this year anyway. And then that leaves the Jets, and the Jets seem very focused on just trying to get Aaron Rodgers. So that's pretty much where we stand. But this gets even better, okay? Because some of this is actually really funny. So Lamar Jackson's been like going at it with fans on Twitter who are basically accusing him of, purposely sitting out to get paid and and everything. And, Lamar basically said, well, if I was that concerned about my contract, I would have just sat out the season, or I would not have played week 1 against the Jets. Or I wouldn't have played most of the season until I got hurt.
Right.
He's basically saying, I want to win a championship, but he's also implying that I deserve a lot more than what they're willing to offer me. And then another team that kind of surfaced as a potential landing spot, although it's kind of been shot down, were the Patriots. And Matt Judon, this is where it gets actually really funny. Matt Judon's been trying to recruit guys to go to New England.
Right.
So Matt Judon tried to recruit a few weeks ago. He tried to recruit Odell Beckham, and Beckham wrote back like, man, no one wants to go play for Belichick. Like, what are you kidding me? Like, it was actually really funny, and then
if you're winning, they do.
Yeah, exactly. But no one wants to deal with the drill sergeant type thing.
Coming in 4th place playing for Belichick.
Like, if you're playing for Belichick, that means you played with him for like 5 or 10 years, so you know what he is, and you know what you're getting yourself into.
But you ain't going there now.
Yeah, you're not going to go there now because he's at the tail end of his career, and he's probably going to retire eventually.
Never. But he's going to die on the sideline.
So then Judon was trying to recruit Lamar Jackson, and basically saying, "Oh yeah, Lamar." Like I don't know what he was saying. I don't remember what he said. And then just as goes to show you how good this is, Asante Samuel, the former Patriots quarterback, jumped in and basically told Lamar, "You would hate playing for him. Don't go there." And Judon was like, "Oh, it's not that bad," and like it got really funny. Like sometimes when athletes like kind of jabber with each other on Twitter, it's actually kind of funny.
Look, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here because I think he's going to end up either playing under the franchise tag or signing with the Ravens. But I'm not sure, and he also doesn't need to ask for a trade. He has freedom right now, carte blanche, to talk to any team he wants and negotiate a deal. They just have to cough up the 2 first-round picks. That's the compensation. Like, it's already set up. That's it.
For me, the one team that I think should definitely get into it with him are the Falcons.
But they're not. He's already said he's not doing it. They have their rookie too that they drafted last year.
I mean, it sends a message that you just don't believe in Desmond Ridder after a few games, but that division is very prime for the taking right now because it's so weak.
I got to be honest with you. Like, if you're like the Saints, I would have taken Lamar over Derek Carr. I would have taken that. Like, if I'm the Jets, like if you're the Jets, like here's the thing, Jets, it's a 2 to 3 year window at best with Aaron Rodgers. That's at best, assuming he doesn't become Aaron Rodgers and decide he wants to retire in the offseason after spending 6 days in a dark cabin.
Only 6?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like with Lamar, I understand injuries, but that's true for anybody. Injuries can end anybody's career at any time. Blah, blah, blah. But Lamar is 26. So you assume at least, like Cam went to 32. So you assume at least that's good 6 years you have of good Lamar. And the other thing too is that we have never seen Lamar Jackson ever with the receiving core that the Jets have. Never have. So we have no idea. And let me tell you something about Lamar Jackson. You may think he's not a great thrower. That dude could throw a deep ball like that dude could throw a deep ball like great. So
I wouldn't have any problem. And you listen, you know me, like when I said it last week, I don't have a problem giving up number 13. Right. I really don't.
Well, for Lamar, you'd have to give up 13 in next year, but you hope next year would be like 20.
Next year, but you really think, unless God forbid Lamar Jackson got hurt,
right, would we, where would we 28? You want to be high
of the freaking first round. I mean, maybe not 32, but we would definitely be in the 20s. I can afford to lose that pick. I wouldn't care about that. But again, I mean, at the end of the day, they're going all in on Rodgers, and that's pretty much where they're at right now, and that's where they stand. But the thing is also, man, even if Lamar Jackson were to go back to the Ravens, how awkward would that be at this point?
Well, it's going to be about as awkward as having Zach Wilson run OTAs for the Jets.
I mean, come on, stop it.
Got guys burning Zach Wilson jerseys in effigy, waiting for
Jet fans are idiots. Okay, I mean, listen,
all fans are idiots, dude.
Well, I mean,
all fans are idiots.
I'm going to be this is what's kind of funny about Jet fans. And I was watching it on Twitter, right? Packer fans are doing such a good job getting under the skin of the Jet fan. It's really funny.
It doesn't take much.
It doesn't take much. Exactly. Right. And I'm watching this and I'm like, are these Jet fans like really that fucking dense? Like, do they really think that like the Packer fan is like in loving this every second of the way? Now, some Packer fans to me are kind of stupid because they're not going to get a first round pick. The GM basically admitted that. The GM, Brian Gutekunst, basically just said point blank, they're probably not going to wind up with the number 13 pick. Okay. I don't know what the package is going to eventually be. My guess is it's going to be a second this year, a conditional second that becomes a first in 24, and then maybe a player. But I'm not entirely sure. Like, I can't predict that. But Jet fans, like I said, it doesn't take much, Maddie, to trigger them. And they're like, and I'm like, you guys, like, you understand that they're like totally fucking with you, right? Because they know that they can get away with it. Because they know they're not going to get a number 13 for Aaron Rodgers, but they're going to find a way to get under your skin. And it's working. And I'm reading it and I'm like, my God, these Jet fans, they take the bait every time. Like, what is wrong with them? Dude, relax. Like, breathe.
They can't do it. They can't do it.
And I mean, but that's every sports fan, though.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Of course.
You and I can agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, Giant fans have their fair share of guys who are
Please.
like they think every guy they sign is like, okay, this is the missing piece. The reserve lineman from the Falcons is going to get us to the Super Bowl, kind of thing. And like,
but you know, listen. To be fair, the Giants are that team that always win out of nowhere.
You're right. I don't disagree with that.
We always have that hope, right? The
Okay.
Giants are one of those teams where we always have that hope that on any given year we could actually win because that's how we usually win.
Like, the funny thing is, every time, what was one of the things I always said when we used to do our predictions back in the day? I used to always say, don't sleep on the Giants.
Not in the playoffs, man.
They do have guys that are lethal. If those guys get hot, they're going to be a tough out. They're going to be a very tough out.
And who knows if the refs had gotten that friggin' call right with the catch that wasn't a catch in the first quarter of the Eagles game, maybe that turns out differently because there's a punt there instead of a 1st and goal.
I mean, but it just watching sports fans, I'm telling you, it's a laugh riot. And the Twitter fans are the worst.
Oh, well,
they are so triggered. They are so triggered over every little thing.
It's why I always say stuff.
You know, it's like, you know, Cowboy fans are like it. Dolphin fans already are printing Super Bowl tickets.
My favorite meme, my friend, a good friend of mine from college is a Cowboy fan, and I send it to him every year. And it's a picture of a floppy disk, and it says Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl picks.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, Cowboy fans are so arrogant and everything. And I'm like, you guys haven't fucking been to anything in over 20 years. I mean, the Super Bowl, what was the last time they won a Super Bowl? Was it 96?
Yeah.
96. So that's almost 30 years since they last won a Super Bowl.
Almost everybody playing for the Cowboys was not alive.
I can't remember the last time they made it to a championship game. Was it around that same year?
I think it was the same year.
It was the same year, right? So it's like, and then it's just every year it's like, oh man, this is going to be the year. And when they lost in who they play in the second round and they lost to? Was it the Niners?
Niners, yeah.
The Niners. And I'm watching a montage of people literally breaking their televisions.
Yeah. Those are my favorite, dude.
Those are the best.
There's nothing better than a dude losing his shit and just taking it out on the TV.
The Eagle fans when they lost the Super Bowl. Oh my!
My favorite of all time, though, Craig. My favorite of all time. There's a guy. It was the Seattle Super Bowl where Russ throws the pick,
right?
And a guy literally runs. He had one of those it was one of those TVs that was also like a wall. It was like one of those old school TV stands with the TV, huge TV, and he just took a running and just shouldered right into the TV.
When the Cowboys lost the Niners game, and that guy, there was a video of a guy who took his TV off of, he had already broken it. He took it off the wall, put it to his garage, put it on the ground, started his pickup truck, and ran it over with his pickup truck. And you see the screen part just fly out from underneath. You were sliding a credit card through or something. It was, oh my God. I'm telling you, fans.
You're all idiots.
Stay classy though. Because I think some of the stuff that's on there is absolutely hysterical.
Well, it's like the morons who say they're gonna boycott Nike and burn the Nike gear that they bought.
Yeah.
Nike gives a shit that you're burning something that you already paid for.
Yeah, they already have your one.
Yeah, idiots. All right, listen, you're listening to Polar Opposites. We're currently live on YouTube and on Spreaker. You can find us wherever you find your podcast. That's iTunes, that's Spreaker, that's Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Matt. He's Craig. Polar Oppo on Twitter, at Polar Oppo Pod on Instagram. We did a little MLB. We did a little NFL. And we're going to close the show out the way we always close the show out, Craig.
A little in case you missed it, Matty. Let's do it. In case you missed it, as always, closes out our show, sponsored by nobody.
It's sponsored by Good Taste.
Yeah, sponsored by Good Taste, exactly. All opinions vary, all opinions legal, all opinions matter. Matty, are you ready?
Hello!
All right, number one, the NFL announced that teams can now have 2 Thursday night football games per season, and there is a vote tabled until May to allow the league to flex teams into Thursday night games, but providing 2 weeks' notice before doing so. Giants owner John Mara hates the idea, saying, quote, I think being flexed into Monday night is inconsiderate, and to flex a game back to Thursday to me is just abusive. Roger Goodell answered back saying, quote, providing the best matchups for our fans is what we do. This is such a tailor-made quote, like somebody wrote this for him. The data doesn't show high injury rate, and I don't think we're putting Amazon over our players. As you know, Thursday night games are on Amazon Prime. So, Maddie, where do you stand on more Thursday night football games for teams?
I think it's a terrible idea. I think, yeah, the rate of injury might not be higher, but the rate of terrible fucking play is higher. The games are bad, and it's not always bad teams that are bad. It's good teams that are bad too. There's not enough time to recover. In fact, what I think they should do, Craig, is expand it to 18 weeks this season, give the teams 2 bye weeks, and you get 1 bye week before the Thursday night game. So you got bye week, Thursday night game, and then you come back the following Sunday and play. So there's never a short week. That's how I think they should do it. You would see such a uptick in how the game is played. But let me just say this to you real quick, and I'll let you get to your thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
The problem I have here is flexing to a Thursday night, flexing to a Monday night. Yo, people spend a lot of money on these tickets, man. And not everybody's a freaking billionaire who could just like call off work or like change their plans or like get a babysitter or do this or do that. Like you're making it so difficult for people to go to these games. Stop. Just stop. It's ridiculous. Don't flex to Thursday. Sunday afternoon to Sunday night is one thing totally. It's in the lexicon. We do it. But flexing into a whole different day is bullshit.
I'm not a big fan of Thursday night games to begin with because I just think you barely got through Monday and all of a sudden you're prepping 2 days later to watch a Thursday night game. It doesn't give teams enough time to prep for a week. And if you guys have injured players, you can't play them on Thursday because there's not enough time for these guys to recover. Even if guys are questionable, you can't play them under, like, especially if it's a legitimately good player.
Right.
Flexing to Thursday, oof, man, players already hate the idea, which I don't blame them. And now owners don't really seem to care for the idea either. But what it sounds to me is exactly what Goodell is trying to say is, well, nobody's really getting hurt, and we're making a lot of money off this Amazon deal, so we're going to keep doing it. But you're also putting players at major risk of getting injured.
I'll say this. When John Mara is not behind you, it's a bad idea. That dude is like
But he's exactly right by saying it is abusive. I think it's very abusive to these players.
It's not just it's abusive to the fans too. Like, we have to take the fans into account at some point, right? Like, we have to, the people who pay for all of this shit, the people who watch it, the people who go, we have to account for them at some point and say that this is not just abusive to the players, it's also abusive to the fans. Yeah.
It's exactly right, though. But the thing is, again, it's a cash grab. Let's just call it what it is with Amazon.
Always.
You're making a lot of money off this package. Everybody wants to watch. Everybody's watching it. Whoever has Amazon Prime is going to, and people are ordering Amazon Prime. So my thinking is they must have seen something in the numbers of like people who subscribe to Amazon Prime, knowing full well they can get Thursday Night Football on there, and that's the only reason why this is even becoming a thing. And again, it's just like the flexing thing is totally separate.
Right.
He's trying to he really wants to do 2 Thursday games.
I know.
And it's a terrible idea. Now you have 4 teams who are just coming off getting, shit kicked out of them on Sunday or whatever, and then they have to prep in 2 days for a team that they're just not ready for.
But what you're getting then too is unfair as well, because right now I think everybody plays a Thursday night game, and in that case you wouldn't have everybody playing a Thursday night game because they're going to flex out Browns v Cardinals and flex in whoever.
They'll do like Chiefs Chargers or something because they want to get Mahomes and Herbert against each other.
I got an idea. I got an idea, NFL. Why don't you just schedule the games better? You know what the good matchups are going to be. You fucking know. Now, assuming no injuries, like we know.
You don't think the schedule right now is prepped? You don't think right now? I think the only reason why the schedule is not out yet is because I think they're still waiting to see if Rodgers coming to the Jets is a big deal.
Because they're going to get more night games.
You're not even going to get night games. You're going to get like the 4:25 game of the week on like CBS with Nance and Romo and all that stuff. Or
it's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah. But right now, the gist of the schedule is done. They're just waiting to see where's Lamar Jackson going to go? Where's Aaron Rodgers going to go right now? And I think until then, but having 2 Thursday night games, man, I could barely get up for one. Imagine doing 2. That's just insane.
Terrible.
All right, number 2, DJ Hernandez, brother of the late former tight end Aaron Hernandez, was arrested earlier this month for disorderly conduct and second-degree breach of peace after he allegedly threw a bag containing a brick on ESPN's Bristol, Connecticut campus after being denied entry by security. Police had responded to a well-being call after Hernandez had made concerning statements about damaging property at the state capitol and at ESPN. Hernandez was also arrested in a separate incident for reckless driving and telling police that he was trying to get arrested because he no longer wanted to stay at his mom's house. He was taken to a hospital to be evaluated for a mental health problem. Maddie, are the Hernandez brothers cursed?
I don't know about curse, but like I think Aaron Hernandez with CTE and like more like upbringing. This kid sounds like he has some form of like bipolar disorder or something like that, like manic, that sort of thing, and then go into a depressive state. But like that's crazy, man. Like all those things to happen. Like it seems crazy that it would be both your kids would be like that. But it seems like the Hernandezes just did not have good luck when it came to the brain pan. You know what I'm saying?
You know, obviously we'd have a little bit more sympathy for Aaron Hernandez if he didn't murder a guy and went to prison for it.
Yes.
Because of the CTE thing. Okay. These types of stories not necessarily scare me, but are a little troubling to read because there's obviously more going on than we know.
Yeah.
And whether it's he lives in an abusive family, I have no idea. Or like you said, he could be suffering from some form of bipolar disorder or whatever. You know, these are the types of stories that are very scary because, you know, again, he threw a brick at the campus of ESPN. Who's to say that he might, God forbid, hurt somebody? You know, just physically walking down the street and he hurts somebody.
Right. Or solve everything the way everyone solves everything nowadays and just walk into a place with, you know, an AR-15 or whatever the hell it is.
Start shooting people. I mean, we're not joking about that.
No, that's not a joke. That is not a joke.
But this has become a way of life now, where basically, you know, I have 2 young daughters in school. Let me pivot to this really quickly. I have 2 young daughters in the same school. They have a lockdown drill. When we were in high school, we didn't have a lockdown drill. We had a bus drill where we basically sit on the end of the bus and go and just jump off. In the event the bus got caught on fire or got into an accident. These kids are on a lockdown drill, and I've gotten texts to my phone where they say the school is on lockdown because a suspicious person is walking around the premises.
Yeah.
This is the world we're living in now, and now we have situations like this where it's like the guy he's just out of his mind.
Yeah.
And mental health is becoming a major issue right now in this country, but nobody wants to do anything about it. And this is definitely a prime example of what we're dealing with. I hope he gets the help he needs because I have a feeling this is not going to end well. Number 3, the Cleveland Guardians are keeping more of their young core intact as they've signed Andres Jimenez to an extension worth over $100 million. Including incentives, the deal could be worth up to $128 million. Jimenez, acquired by the Guardians in the Francisco Lindor trade with the Mets, had an all-star season hitting .297 with 17 homers and 69 RBIs. Did the Guardians take a bit of a risk committing to a player coming off one solid season for the next 7 years?
I guess it's a risk, but it's a low money risk compared to what he would make if he ever reached his walk year or whatever, you know, the post-arbitration years, all that sort of stuff. But that's the way teams like the Guardians have to exist. It's the way they existed in the 90s. It's the way they existed in like the late 2000s. Like they have to sign guys after 1 or 2 good years to team-friendly contracts, or they're not going to be able to sign anybody. And it's going to be a revolving door. So they don't have a choice. They have to do it like this. Same way the Rays have to do it like this. The Mets and Yankees don't have to do it like this. They can wait till Aaron Judge becomes a free agent. They can wait till Pete Alonso becomes a free agent and just throw friggin' money at him. The Guardians can't do that. So this is what they have to do. And it's smart for them to do it because that's also a tradable contract. Like if he ends up not being good for you, you can get rid of him. That's the point.
Well, I look at it as 2 things. If Andres Jimenez becomes a star, it's a steal.
Yes.
It's an absolute steal of a contract because you're only paying the guy a little bit over $10 million a year. I think it's like $13-14 million a year, which is a steal for a guy who had 17 homers and 69 RBIs. I think he's only like 23, 24.
Right.
And he hit .297 last year. He's also a Gold Glove defenseman, and he was an all-star.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, well, then you're just basically eating $15 million a year. And like you said, you could probably eventually trade that contract if a team comes calling.
Right.
That is a trade, in my opinion, where you can honestly say that it was a good trade for both teams. The Guardians wanted to get rid of Lindor. The Mets took him, and the Mets gave up Ahmed Rosario and Andres Jimenez. And Andres Jimenez, we weren't going to win a World Series with Andres Jimenez, as far as I was concerned. But he goes to a team where he's actually playing really well and thriving. So basically, at this point, I think it's a smart move for the Guardians. They're not looking to spend big money, and I think they're just doing everything they can to keep their young core intact. And I think the more important thing for them is going to be trying to pay their pitching, guys like Shane Bieber, and I think Plesac is another guy, and Cal Quantrill is another guy. All right, number 4, some of the rules that were either approved or denied during the owners' meetings include players being allowed to wear the number 0 on their jerseys, which was approved, having one roster cut down from 90 to 53 players, also approved, allowing roughing the passer to be a reviewable call, that was denied. Instead of an onside kick, teams will go for it on 4th and 20, also denied. The number 0 jersey seems to be the most exciting to the players, with Jags receiver Calvin Ridley already posting on Twitter that he is wearing that number for the upcoming season. Maddie, any issues with the new rules approved or denied?
Not the rules that are approved. I think that's all fine. I think the rules that are denied are stupid. Why would we want to get things like roughing the passer right? Like, why on earth? We know what roughing the passer is when we see it on replay all the time. We see it on replay, and the official that's in the booth, whoever that is like, oh, that's not roughing, or oh, that is roughing. Like, the game is fast, and I don't always blame the officials because a lot of them are too fucking old to be doing this job to begin with, and it's too fast for them to see it, and they just I think at this point it's just a reflex to just throw the flag when the quarterback gets hit. But the one that makes me even more angry is I love the idea of a 4th and 20 instead of an onside kick. It makes the game more exciting. With the new rules for kickoffs and onside kicks where they can't get the running start, you have to almost have a perfect kick every time to get the onside kick. It doesn't happen as much fun as it did before. So I really just wish they would have done that, because I would love onside kick in the Super Bowl or like a playoff game, and you decide to go for it on 4th and 20, and you got a quarterback zigzagging around in the back and just heaving the ball up in the air. That'd be awesome. It'd be so much more fun than an onside kick.
You'd have like a bunch of Music City Miracles, like almost like every play. And like it would, no, I honestly think that would be a great thing. The roughing the passer thing, I don't understand why that was denied. I think that's really important because there were a lot of roughing the passer calls this past season that were very ticky-tacky to me. Like it was very, very borderline. Like I've seen some ones that are brutal. Yeah. And then I've seen some ones that are like, come on, man, like this is ridiculous. You gotta let these guys play a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the rules that were approved. What I can't understand is why are so many people making a big deal about the number 0? I just don't understand it. Players all over freaking Twitter about wanting to wear the number 0. You have fans of all their team, of whatever team, whether the Cowboys, the Lions, all these people go like, oh, well, who do you want to see wear number 0? Who fucking cares?
There's
number 0. What is it? It's not Orlando Woolridge. It's number 0. It doesn't matter.
I could give a rat's ass what any number any player wears. I don't give a shit. I honestly don't care. You could wear number 9,999,999, and I wouldn't give a shit. I don't.
You can fit it on the jersey.
Yes.
You can fit it on the jersey. But
like triple digits, I don't give a shit, man. I don't care.
The excitement around wearing number 0 was insane when it was announced that it was approved by the league. Players taking pictures of themselves wearing number 0 and putting it on Twitter.
Like Agent Zero's coming. Get the hell out of here, you idiot.
I just don't get it. The other call, I mean, to me, like the roster cut down thing is fine. I mean, that doesn't mean anything.
All the rest of it's fine.
But it was just like the fact that roughing the passer is not reviewable to me is just that's going to make or break games, and that's going to frustrate. And I think that's going to be brought back to the table next year because there's going to be games this upcoming season where roughing the passer call is going to make or break the game. Meaning like it led to a field goal that won the game for whoever. And the owners are going to get pissed or whatever, and they're going to bring it to the table one more time to see if it's going to get done. But I just couldn't understand the fascination about number 0. Could not understand why everybody was making such a big freaking deal about this number. It just made no sense to me. In case you missed it, is over, and this episode of The Polar Opposites is over. I'd like to thank everybody for checking out the show, whether you check it out on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartMusic, wherever it is, wherever Maddie's posting it. We hope you check
everywhere. It's everywhere. It's like the plane.
Follow us on Instagram at PolarOppoPod. Follow us on Twitter at PolarOppoPod.
Nope.
Oh, I don't say. I'm still learning. At Polar Oppo. So Twitter at Polar Oppo, Instagram at Polar Oppo Pod. Next week we'll be back with another show. We'll be we're getting closer to the draft. We'll get it deeper as the week goes into.
Are we back next week? Next week is Easter.
Oh, maybe we won't do an Easter show.
Yeah, so we'll do a week after show. I don't think we'll do it next week, but a week after.
We'll take a break, and hopefully by then something good will happen. We'll give baseball teams a chance to we'll get a better idea after the first couple of weeks. Basketball season will be ending by then. And of course, the draft will be only a couple of weeks away, so we'll probably dive into a little bit of that. So again, wherever you are, stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your week. You've been listening to The Polar Opposites. Have a great week, everybody. Back in 2 weeks. Enjoy your Easter. If you're a Jew, enjoy your Passover. And that's it. Maddie, anything else?
Nope.
All right. Have a great one, everybody. Take care. See you in a couple of weeks.
Bye.